Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh has been accused of assaulting a woman in the 1980s. He denies the assault ever happened and says he is willing to testify to the Senate committee about this accusation. Here to talk about this is Travis County GOP Chairman Matt Mackowiak and Ed Espinoza from Progress, Texas. Now, the Democratic members of the Senate Judiciary Committee are calling on the panel's chairman to postpone Thursday's vote on Kavanaugh's nomination. And just a few hours ago, the president said a little delay may be needed. Ed Espinoza, what do you think the senators should do?
Whether it's a little delay or a long delay, some time needs to be dedicated to this very serious issue. Look, this is something that has recently come up, and it's something that wasn't coming up in the previous hearings, whether the public hearings or closed-door hearings. So it's something that needs to be vetted. Whether it's a little delay or a long delay, there needs to be some time to address this very serious issue.
Matt Mackowiak, how should the Senate committee proceed?
You know, you can't prove a negative, and this is one of the challenges that happens in these kinds of circumstances. You have an allegation that's been made from 35 years ago, an allegation that had never been made publicly before, not when Brett Kavanaugh was named associate counsel in the White House, not when he was named staff secretary, one of the most sensitive jobs in government, not when he was nominated to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, the second highest court in the land. And of course, he passed FBI background checks in all of those stages, and he passed it again for the Supreme Court. And in fact, the letter that this woman wrote at the time was presented to members of the Senate Judiciary Committee with her name redacted. So they've known about this for several months, and that's the biggest concern that I have here. Look, I want to hear the allegations. I want to see if this woman's credible and can answer questions. I want to hear the credibility of the denials as well. The process here is awful. They're clearly trying to delay. That is what this is about. It's not about anything other than that. I think that's becoming increasingly clear.
Ed Espinoza, what do you say to that about the timing of all this?
And the one thing I think is important to remember in all of this is that the reason that her name was redacted from the initial documents, the reason this didn't come out until recently is because she said she felt like her voice wouldn't make a difference in the process. And it wasn't until a point came where she felt push came to shove and that she needed to do something, to say something to draw some attention to this. That's why she offered to take a polygraph test to show that she was telling the truth. She showed notes from psychologists that she saw dating back to 2012 regarding this particular event. The events that are being told in this story are very specific. So I think they're ones that need to be taken very seriously. And when we're looking, yes, it's true, it did happen 35 years ago. But when you're looking to put somebody on the Supreme Court, we should absolutely hold those people to a very high moral standard.
Yeah, I mean, Ed said that the allegations were specific. There are some pretty key details that are not part of the allegations. She says she doesn't know when it happened, precisely. She doesn't know where it happened, precisely. It's very hard if you've been accused of something to disprove it if you don't know when or where it happened. In the psychologist's notes, she didn't mention to her psychologist the name of the person at the time, or even 2012. In fact, she said she didn't tell anyone about it. Not one time for 30 years or something like that. It came out during couples therapy. Look, I want to believe accusers. We have to take them seriously. It's hard to come forward, and we should respect that. The process here is what is so awful. This did not come up in the public hearing. It did not come up in the private hearing when they had Judge Kavanaugh there, and they'd already received the letter with the allegation. That was the time to ask him about it, not 3 days before they were going to take a committee vote before proceeding to the floor. The process here is really bad, and that's why I think delay is the goal.
Okay, well, we're going to see what happens. We got to wrap it up. Ed, Matt, thank you both very much for coming by.
Thanks.
Thanks.